Cool. Hi, everyone. So first, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to start with a quick introduction about Hack Club, and then we're going to be passing off to Amog, our host, and then Jack Conte, our guest today. So my name is Zach Latta. I'm the founder of Hack Club. I started Hack Club after I dropped out of high school after ninth grade because I was desperate for a hacker community. I taught myself to code starting at age 7, but I didn't know anybody else that shared my interests. I moved out of my parents' home. I moved up to San Francisco. I became financially independent. And I started Hack Club to create the community that I was so desperate I wish I had when I was a student. Hack Club is a student-led network of high school hacker clubs in 2% of high schools across America, but there's 10,000 students in Hack Club all across the globe each year. We are a nonprofit and are supported based on donations. It's completely free for every student in the program. And we are so thrilled to have everybody here today. Hack Club is also open to any high school student in the world who wants to join. Just go to hackclub.com. One important part of Hack Club is that everything in Hack Club is student-led, from the student-led hacker clubs to the hackathons to even the Slack and this call that we're on today is being put together by students. And on that note, I'm going to hand it off to Amog, our host. Amog, please take us away.
Hey, everybody. I think a lot of us, especially in quarantine, love to binge watch YouTube. But guess what? In 2018, the top 3% of YouTubers earned $16,000 from ad revenue, barely above the federal poverty line. And what Jack Conte did is exactly what many hack clubbers do every single day. They saw a problem and built to fix it. And Jack, as a co-founder of Patreon, you're the perfect guest for us today. Thank you so much for giving your time. So Jack, would you care to tell us a quick story?
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, first of all, thanks so much everybody for having me. And I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to talk to you all. I'd love to tell you a little bit about the beginning of Patreon and how we got started. Would it be possible when I click screen share on Zoom right now, it says host has disabled attendee screen sharing. Would it be possible for whoever the host is to allow me to share my screen so I can show you some of the pictures here? Because obviously the story is better with pictures, if that's all right.
It should be enabled for you.
Perfect. Okay, I got it. Okay, so cool. Can you all see my screen now? Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, this is my band. We're called Pomplamoose, and this is us. We started uploading videos about 12 years ago. That's actually my childhood bedroom. So I grew up in that house, and I don't know if you can see in the corner of that screen, there's some blankets with fish on them. Those are the blankets that I slept in as a kid. And I put them up on the wall so that they would absorb sound and it wouldn't be as echoey in there. But this is what we did. This is now my wife, Natalie. At the time, she was my girlfriend. We put up videos on YouTube. We did the whole thing. This is us playing at Fillmore a couple of years ago in San Francisco. This is an album that we put on iTunes. And about 7 years ago, I started working on this music video, which basically led to the founding of Patreon and is kind of the whole reason that Patreon exists in the first place. So I wanted to make a music video for my fans, for my own personal YouTube channel. My wife signed a record deal with Warner and went off to tour the world and left me at home alone by myself to go crazy and do my thing. And so I started working on this music video. The idea for the video was, here, let me see if I can, I wanted to be in the middle playing electric guitar. Let me tilt my screen up so you can see me. I wanted to be in the middle playing electric guitar. I wanted one robot over here to come out of a rotating elevator, out of like a table. I wanted a rotating elevator to slowly come up, and then I wanted a hexapod robot to come out and fist pump and play a MIDI controller. And then on the other side, I wanted a second elevator to come up, and I wanted an animatronic head to come out of the second elevator and sing the lyrics to the song. So that was the idea for the video. So I started, I had no plans. I just started putting this thing together. I had to learn how to cut a circle out of wood, which I don't know if you've ever tried to do that, but it's actually really hard and took me a long time to figure out how to do, to kind of like build this whole elevator system. I started sketching out the thing in a little notepad, and these plans got more and more complicated. I started spending probably $100 a day going to Home Depot, getting weird angle irons and screws and all kinds of weird parts. I bought a pulley system on Amazon to get the elevator to come up. That didn't work. Finally, I got a self-elevating desk, and that pushed the elevator up, and then I just had to figure out how to get it to rotate. And in the middle of this whole thing, if you're a Star Wars fan, by the way, can I get a fist in the screen if you're a Star Wars fan? I want to see where are my Star Wars fans there. All right, cool. We got a bunch of Star Wars fans. When I was a kid, I watched the Star Wars movies 72 times. I counted it. One summer, I watched Star Wars 72 times, which I probably should not be admitting on a live stream. But I love those movies. And so I decided, you know what? I'm just going to build a replica of the Millennium Falcon cockpit behind all of us, me and the two robots, as we're doing this here. So I start framing a wall behind me. And that again, I have no experience as a contractor or you know, what's it called? A woodworker. So I was literally just reading, you know, internet articles and trying to figure out how to put this table together and then figure out how to frame the wall. So I start building all the panels for the side of Millennium Falcon. And those, I don't know if you can see those little silver like circles. Those are washers that I bought on eBay. I bought a pack of 1,000 washers for like a few bucks that I found on eBay. And then the little things, the little black things that are that have two circles in them, those are wall plates from Home Depot, like an outlet that you would see in the wall. And I turned them sideways and I put some colored vellum behind it because I was going to shine lights behind this whole thing. So I started building more and more of these panels. And now I'm like spending 15, 16-hour days in my studio by myself, just kind of going crazy, building all these panels, putting the set up, putting the set together. And it's really coming together. It's starting to look like the Millennium Falcon. Now I'm like 2.5 months in, I'm hoarding garbage. I'm going to junkyards and finding cool vents and things to put up on the set and spray painting pieces of styrofoam black to make it look like the Millennium Falcon set. I went crazy, folks. I literally ended up draining my savings account working on this video. Spent way too much money. I'm not going to talk about it because it was totally irresponsible. I spent too much money trying to make this video. I literally spent my savings, maxed out 2 credit cards. And these are my hands. If you wear latex gloves for 19 hours a day, that's what happens to your hands. Don't do that, please. But the set actually came together, and I'll show you a quick clip of the video just so you know I'm not BSing here. And by the way, I can see the chat is open here. It's so fun to see you all talking in the chat and hanging out. If you have a question or something at any time, just go ahead and type at me and I'll answer your question. So let me show you a quick clip of the video just so you know I'm not totally full of it. I'll turn off my sound. Sam asks, how long did it take? It took 3 months to build all this. I did not build that head or build the hexapod robot. I worked with a fellow from the University of Tucson who built the hexapod robot, and I worked with a hobbyist roboticist from the UK who built the animatronic head. So here's the video. You guys ready? There's no CGI in this video. Everything you're about to see is like actual real world stuff really happening. I'll just show you a quick clip and then I can send a link in the chat if you want to see it afterwards. So that's the animatronic head. It is literally singing the lyrics to the song. That's a conveyor belt that I built that has all my guitar pedals on it. The video is called Pedals. So I made this conveyor belt for the pedals to go. That steam that's coming out of the elevator shaft, that's a fog machine that I bought on Amazon. And it's just shooting out fog from the elevator shaft. The lights, there is a light behind all the panels. Okay, that is a 3D printed hexapod robot that this guy from the University of Tucson built from scratch. He made the whole thing by himself. He did all the inverse kinematics to make it look like it was fist pumping and dancing. It was such a fun hexapod robot. Okay, so I poured my life, I poured my money, I poured my savings, I poured my passion, I poured myself into this video. I gave it everything I got, right? And I knew I would log into YouTube the next day and I would see this. This is an actual screenshot from my YouTube dashboard, an actual screenshot from 2014. On the left, you can see, can you folks see my mouse? If you can see my mouse, give me a fist. Yeah, you can? Okay, great. So this shows 1 million views. This is a 28-day trailing period in 2014. You can see 1 million views. You see 2 million minutes watched, 1.9 million minutes watched. What's my paycheck for that? $166. That's what I was getting paid for all of the work that I just described. And sometimes when I'm telling this story, like it's actually ridiculous, right? It feels so off and so unfair and so devastating. It feels devastating. And yet, this is what creators are dealing with, right? People who upload content online in 2013, this was the dashboard you saw every day. When you took out your phone and you looked at your phone and Google told you how much money you made, you saw this dashboard. And what I realized at the end of this is it's not only me, it's literally like millions of creators around the globe now. Millions of creators see this dashboard every day. And it's more than just the money. It's a feeling of self-worth, right? It's a feeling as a creator, feeling like, gosh, I put in everything I had. And not only did I put in everything I had, I actually reached 1 million people, right? With the thing I made. Like I had an impact on the world. I reached real people with this thing that I created, which y'all know about, right? That feels good. Like when you make something and it has impact on other people, like that's why I feel like I'm on the planet, right? To have impact on others, to have a positive impact. And I get through something like that, and I realized other creators are literally seeing the same dashboard by the millions. And so the idea was, well, actually, okay, let me back up for 1 second. There's a discrepancy between the impact that creative people have, between the impact that they have and what they're paid. Still, in 2020, there's still a discrepancy. To illustrate that, here's what I mean. A few years ago, my band did a book drive for the Richmond School District. We basically put up a video. We said, hey, if you give a book, fans, if you give a book, we will send you our album for free. That was it. Simple deal. You donate a book to the Richmond School District, we will send you our album. And the Richmond School District ended up having to rent a shipping container to keep up with the packages. It was 11,000 packages that got sent to the Richmond School District. It was $140,000 worth of books. And I look up from something like that as a creator, and I'm like, gosh, this feels good. Like I feel like I'm helping people. I feel like I'm doing good work. It feels important for the world. One YouTube video. And then I see that dashboard. I don't buy it. I don't buy it for a second. I don't buy that dashboard represents the impact that I'm having on the world. That's the problem. That's what I set out to fix. And I drew this out on 14 pieces of printer paper. The idea was, gosh, what if I just involved my fans? What if fans paid me $1 per per month, like a membership platform, like WBEZ in Chicago, or a public radio, or a museum, or anything. Let's take that technology, let's democratize it, and let's make it available for every creator in the world. So I called up my freshman year roommate in college, because I am not an engineer, but my freshman year roommate in college was, and he took my terrible drawings on a piece of printer paper and converted it into this, which was the first version of Patreon. And then I launched on Patreon, and within 2 weeks of being on Patreon, literally I was the first creator on Patreon. It was me, my girlfriend, and my roommate. That was it. Those are the only 3 creators on Patreon. And within about 2 weeks, I was making over $5,000 per month. And you can imagine what happened after that. Just lots of creators started coming to the site and seeing that it was working, and that seeing that like this was a place where you could actually get a paycheck as a creative person. And that's how Patreon got started. So now over the last 7 years, now there's over 150,000 creators using the platform. Last year, those creators passed over $1 billion earned since the beginning of the company. And over half a billion of that came from last year alone. So it's been a really wonderful, impactful thing that's helped a lot of creative people. And I've learned a ton too. I'm a first-time founder. I'm a first-time CEO. I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. I'm just trying to make the best decisions I can with the information that I have that's available. I'm trying my hardest. I'm trying to listen. I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to know what I'm doing well and what I'm not doing well. And I'm trying to level myself up as the company scales. I'm making a ton of mistakes. I'm having a lot of fun. There's a lot of things that are wonderful. There's a lot of things that are really hard, but it's been such an incredible journey. And I'm having a great time. So, okay, that's my story. Sorry, I felt like it was a little bit longer than I promised it would be. But I'd love to open it up to questions now.
No worries at all. That was really great. And I'm sure a lot of people have something to ask. So folks, if you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand on Zoom. And if you get called on, make sure to introduce yourself, your grade, and also where your club is from. So our first question today is going to come from Sam Potter. Sam, take it away.
Hi, my name's Sam. I'm in grade 9 and I'm leading a hack club next year in Singapore. My question is, I was wondering, with more and more large media corporations joining onto platforms such as YouTube and producing content, how do you think medium-sized independent creators will be able to continue to grow and receive similar exposure to what they did before all the large media corporations joined?
That's such an incredible question. It's definitely getting harder, I think, for YouTubers to start out, but it is not impossible. And there are still so many YouTube channels and so many creators who are figuring out ways to make it work and who are starting. But I agree with you, Sam, that when a company comes in there with a ton of resources and hires a giant team and is cranking out content, yeah, it seems like they have a better option. But one thing that I love about the internet that I'm still very optimistic about and very positive about is this concept of democratizing the tools that are available in order to ensure that like other people have the same access that even those big media companies have, right? Like when you think about the distribution platforms as they exist right now, as an independent creator, which I am, right? I've not signed a record deal. Like I'm just uploading videos by myself. And as an independent creator, I get the same media tools that Taylor Swift gets. Like I get the same distribution tools that Lizzo gets. You all get the same tools that those creators get too. That is like, seriously, it is the best time in the history of humans, the best time in the history of humans to be an artistic person, to be a creator, to have something to say and to be able to get it out there to the world. And I agree with you that it gets challenging when there's a lot of competition, if you will. But oh my gosh, Pradyun says anyone with the drive can make it. I completely agree. Like if it's something that you want, if you're willing to put in the work and to put in the time, and to be creative about it, then I think anyone has an edge. I really believe that. And I think it's really important for platforms like Patreon and other platforms to continue making sure that you don't forget about all those creators that helped you get there in the first place, right? Like to not abandon your users and to not turn your back on those people. So yeah, I totally hear you, and I think that's such an important thing, and I think we all of us, including companies, have a responsibility to make sure that we keep the internet open.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, great question, Sam, and Jack, great answer. As people were saying in the chat, we're really loving your enthusiasm here. Our next question is going to come from JP Karain. JP.
Awesome. Hi, Jack. My name is JP. I'm a 14-year-old 8th grader from Colorado. I'm running a hack club in my school. And I actually first heard of you through your band Pomplamoose. And my favorite video of yours is your band's cover of Mr. Blue Sky. My sister loves that. But I was wondering, how is the COVID-19 pandemic affecting creator revenue and job stability? I was wondering if like creators in general are making more money because people are at home watching, or if creators in general are making less money because of ad revenues that are going down, and if there's less disposable money to go on around places like Patreon.
Yeah, this is what's happening on Patreon right now is unusual, and I think what's happening to these creators is equally unusual and very, very heartening. What we've seen is basically over 50,000 creators in March launch on Patreon. As a lot of those creators were looking forward at, events getting canceled, shows, tours, as they were seeing basically those revenue streams just disappear in an instant. They're looking for alternative ways to make money outside of the physical world and in the digital world. And right, that's no new story. That's happening across the web right now with a lot of services, including Zoom, right? They just announced, 300 million users of Zoom. So that's happening a lot. But the other side of the equation, I think, is what's even more exciting, which is patrons stepping up to support those creators. So Patreon's pledge volume, the amount of money coming from patrons to support those creators, is off the charts in terms of what we were forecasting or what we anticipated. Patrons are really stepping up to help right now. I think part of the reason that that's so incredible is because it's such a tough time economically for so many people, and yet patrons are doing what it takes to ensure that their creators are supported and can make it through. So we're seeing both sides. We're seeing creators flock to the platform, and we're seeing patrons step up to the challenge to make sure that those creators are supported. It really is like a beautiful thing. And honestly, I'm glad that there is a method for those creators, that there's a way for them to get through a period like this. Because there are some stories. I mean, I was talking to a creator the other day. They had all their tours booked for the rest of the year. It was going to be $300,000 of income for them and for a team of 7. And that got wiped out. And they actually thought about shutting down the operation, like, completely. And then they ended up, launching and literally making, I think it was over like $10,000 a month. And so it was just a wonderful thing. That they could continue making. So yes, what we're seeing in the midst of this pandemic and economic downturn is creativity actually thriving, at least on Patreon. And that's been really heartening to see. It's been wonderful to see so many patrons stepping up.
Thank you, Jack.
Yeah, another great question. And especially now, Patreon is more valuable than it's ever been. And it's really awesome to hear that. Our next question is going to come from Byungjun Moon. Byungjun?
Hi, Jack. I'm Byungjun, grade 10 from Vancouver, Canada, and I'm possibly starting a hack club next year. So my question is, some creators use PayPal as their main fundraising platform. So what makes Patreon stand out from all these competitors? And additionally, what is Patreon's vision in the following year, especially with more creators and platforms?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a couple things. I think some folks think of Patreon as a payments processor, and I definitely understand that from the outside. If you're a creator on Patreon, there's other things that I think become very clear pretty quickly. So I'll offer just a high level overview of I guess, call it competitive strategy against something like a PayPal or a payments processor, the way we think about that internally. So there's a few key things. First, we don't just process payments. We give creators a CRM, which is a customer relations management tool. In other words, it's a database with all of their patrons, their LTV, their lifetime value, their pledge history, their social handles, their email address. We also have an API that allows you to integrate with that CRM and integrate with MailChimp, and then do an email campaign to only your patrons of your $5 tier or of your $10 tier of something like that. So I guess, yeah, the first is the extra tools that we allow for creators. And Sam says API, and yes, we do have an API. I'll give you one sense of what that enables you to do versus something like just going with PayPal. So I'm going to do another screen share. Oops, it's been disabled again. Is it possible to just enable my screen share so I can give you a sense of how people are using our API? Okay, it's working now. Great. So can you see my screen? Can you see Discord here?
Yes.
Is everybody familiar with Discord? Folks know what this is? It's like a chat app for gaming. Okay, cool. I'm getting some fists. All right, people have learned the ropes here. You learn the ropes. Okay, so this is Pomplamoose private patron-only Discord. Actually, we're in the Pompla Pets channel. So these are the pets of all of Pomplamoose patrons, but only patrons. So this is our private Discord server for patrons only, and this is working through our API. So actually, a large portion of Patreon's creators. Oh man, I haven't seen this one yet. Look at that! Look at that cat and that bunny. They look happy. So actually a pretty large portion of Patreon's creators are using the Discord integration and other integrations like it, whether it's MailChimp or Discourse or chat forums or video customer service, kind of things like that. So that's one thing. The second thing is humanity. Patreon is not just a technology company. We have a lot of teams that are creator-facing teams. We have a support team that answers literally over 10,000 email support tickets a month on behalf of creators. So if your patrons have questions or need something or can't find something or whatever it is, the Patreon team will step in and help. We also have creator-facing teams that that work one-on-one with creators on like launch strategy, membership strategy, what pricing points do you want? What are the right pricing points for you? We have marketing tools like special offers, which allows a creator to essentially run a limited time offer, which drives a lot of urgency on the consumer side and helps folks like get a new wave of patrons to their Patreon faster. We have an intelligent retry system. So if there's credit card breakage, in other words, if a credit card declines because of an expiration date or something like that, we've figured out the optimal times to do retries throughout the month to make sure that you win back as much of that as possible. So there's like a very robust suite of tools and a sense of humanity around it as well when it comes to the creator connection that gives us an edge against, say, just a payments processor. And then the last thing I'll offer is that really the competitive edge that Patreon has is just one thing. It's just one thing. It's our creator centrism. It's the fact that we build for creators. They are our customers, right? Those are the people that we care about. Every line of code that we write, every ticket that we answer, every support system that we build is all in the interest of helping creative people, as opposed to something like a YouTube or a Facebook or something like that, which is really the customer there is the advertiser, right? The way that those companies make revenue is advertisers pay them, and so the advertiser is the customer, and so essentially they're building for advertisers. The way we think of Patreon is, no, creators are the customer, we're building for creators. And ultimately that's our competitive advantage. Like that's the reason that creators choose Patreon over the other platforms that exist, including things like PayPal.
All right, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Really great answer. And yeah, like especially now, like you see a lot of like the video platforms, like people are flocking away from like Twitch because they think they don't actually care about their content creators. So it is really interesting to hear how you focus on the creator themselves. Our next question is going to come from Samyukta Ear. Samyukta?
Yeah. Okay. Hi, Jack. My name is Samyukta, and I am the leader of a hack club in Marietta, Georgia. Hello. So my question is essentially, how does, because I'm a really big like Pomplamoose fan, like Scary Pockets, and then I realized like, wait a second, this is the same person who like founded Patreon. I was like, oh my goodness. So like I have personally interacted with how Patreon can like help support creators, especially like during this time. So how would you say your music and like the more creative side of your career interacts with your role as a CEO and like leading such a big and influential company?
That is something that I would love to say I have figured out, Samyukta, but the truth is I haven't figured it out. I'm constantly experimenting with that.
Okay.
And it's constantly a challenge, but I'll give you a sense of where it is now and where I hope it can go. And also I'll just offer, when I was in high school, I was in chess club. I did track and field. I did theater. I did probably 24 shows, like going through high school and grade school. I did so many things. I made animations. I remember spending 4 summers in a row making animations with a camera, frame by frame, clay animation. You work all day and you get 60 pictures, which is 2 seconds of animation. So like it literally took me 4 summers to make one film that ended up being about 4.5 minutes. So I did all these different things and I loved all these different things. And I felt like I was constantly trying to juggle all these different things. And some people said, hey, look, you got to just pick one thing and focus. And I think one lesson that I've learned, and you have to be careful with these sorts of things and the truisms and the lessons and the headlines. But one thing that I've learned is each one of those experiences, theater, animation, track, chess, has given me a unique perspective and a set of tools and an understanding that's helped me be better at any one thing that I do. So in theater, I learned, about performance and public speaking and talking on stage in front of a bunch of people, which now Patreon's over 200 people. So it helps me a lot to learn how to talk in front of a bunch of people. And like all those skills, all those things that I learned, are applicable to my life right now. And the same is true with creativity. So the things that I learned as a creator, I'm applying to Patreon. And the things that I'm learning at Patreon, I'm applying to my career as a creator. The way it stands now is Pomplamoose has 50 videos that we released in the last year, one a week, 52 videos. Scary Pockets, which is my other band, has done the same. So between my two bands, we've released 100 music videos over the past 365 days. And that's a little unwieldy. It's a lot. So there's these two teams. And my wife runs Pomplamoose, and my partner in crime in Scary Pockets, Ryan Lerman, runs Scary Pockets. And they're incredible. And they make that happen. And basically, I help as much as I can. When we were pre-pandemic, I was flying down to LA once per month, fly down to LA, record 4 songs on Saturday with Scary Pockets, record 4 songs on Sunday with Pomplamoose. And then there'd be a team of people that would mix and produce and master. And then those videos would come out one a week after that. And that's how we're kind of running the operation. I'm spending less time on creativity than I kind of want to, because I love being creative. I love doing that stuff. So I'm trying to figure out how to spend more of my time doing these kinds of things, talking with people, talking about Patreon's mission, making video content. And I'm in the process of doing that. But to tell you the truth, Samyukta, it's a constant struggle. I don't feel like I've nailed it yet. And it's just something that I'm always working on. But I do know this. I do know that creativity is at the intersection of all of those fields. It's when you spend a lot of time on chess and then you figure out how that can apply to a company, or you spend a lot of time in theater and you figure out how that can apply to your career as a music maker. And so I'm grateful for all of those things that I've tried and learned in my life, because I see them all applying right now.
Awesome. Thank you.
So folks, we're about at the halfway point of our AMA, so we're going to enter into a bit of a lightning round. So let's try and keep both the questions and answers concise. All right, so Reese, would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Reese. I run a hat club in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm in 9th grade. My question is, with so much content around you, and there's so much to do, I feel like, for you, how do you manage your distractions and keep yourself focused?
What a great question. Yeah, there's at any given time, there's a bunch of things that I could be doing. And the long and short of it is I'm very particular about my calendar. I know what my priorities are at any given time. And when I say priorities, I mean my 3-month priorities. I'm very clear about what is the most important thing that I can be doing over the next 3 months. And I try to manage to that. And I also realize that 25% of my calendar is going to be misses, and that's okay. I'm also going to be okay with that. I'm going to take a lot of swings. Some of those swings are going to work out. Some of the swings aren't going to work out. And I'm not going to beat myself up about it.
Awesome. Next up, we have Raymond Allerhagen. Raymond?
So my name's Raymond. I'm 15. I live in central Pennsylvania, and I go to the hat club there at State High. And I was wondering, what's the funniest or most kind of out there thing that you've seen Patreon sponsoring, that you've seen it used for?
Well, I can't say that live on air. There's been some wild stuff. It's the internet, right? Like anything is out there. So, but I can tell you some things that that I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting animal shelters to be on Patreon, and we're seeing some animal shelters launch on Patreon, which is pretty incredible. And they're like literally taking pictures of pets and talking about like programs that they're doing, and it's pretty cool to see that happening. And there's also clusters of patrons that like pledge to a lot of different animal shelters, so that's cool to see too.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Great question. And next up, we have Ishan Singh. Ishan.
Well, hi, Jack. I am from India. I am 21. Yeah, so my question to you is, before starting your company, after that, from now, what is the one thing that you would like to change? Like you would go back and change that thing.
Oh, that is that's a knife in the heart. Because there's so many things that like I wish I had known back then. But life is about making mistakes, and of course you wish you could know. But like you learn best by failing, right? When you face plant is when you learn the most. And so if I could go back, I mean, I can think of 100 things. I'll tell you what I would do right off the bat. Going back, I would hire. Oh, this is really specific. I don't know if you'll find this useful, but it's the truth. I would hire an HR leader, human resources. I would hire an HR leader earlier in the trajectory of the company, like a very senior level HR leader. People are so important, right? People make the company, and that's a lesson I'll never forget. I would hire that role earlier in the trajectory.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really interesting. Definitely not like one of like the usual like regrets you hear. So you said earlier that you were in chess club, and as someone who's gotten into chess this year, I'm just wondering, what's your favorite chess opening?
I mean, I'm pretty typical. I don't know what it's called, but I do the pawn up two. I haven't played it. I don't know.
Yeah.
The middle pawn up two, whatever that is.
E4. Next up, we have Rishi Kothari.
4 knights. It's called 4 knights, right?
Oh yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
That's the one I pretty much always do.
Next up, we have Rishi Kothari.
Hi, Jack. I'm Rishi. I'm 14 years old, and I run a hack club out of Brampton in Canada. My question for you is a hypothetical. So let's say that you could meet any fictional character that you wanted. Which one would you meet such that your meeting was the most boring possible?
A boring fictional character, or a fictional character that would yield a boring meeting. Ooh. Wow, you're really okay. Okay, let me think about this. I would say probably a no, actually, wow, I can't think of a boring person that would be fictional. Does it have to be historical, or can it be any character ever, future, present, past?
Anyone.
Anyone.
Yeah.
Okay. The teacher from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Boom, nailed it.
Good answer, and also a really good movie. So next up, we have Osai Kemwan.
Hi. You can just call me Ruth. I'm 16 and I'm an active member on Slack. And my question for you is, what was the hardest thing you encountered when building your company?
Everything was hard. Everything. Nothing came easily. Nothing is coming easily. Still, Patreon's 200 people, from the outside, there's all this press, so Patreon's doing this, and there's all these creators, and, everything looks amazing. It's not what it feels like on the inside. It's hard. And actually, it's felt like that my whole life. I was kind of hoping that when I became an adult, that would go away and I'd have the answers and I'd have it figured out. not happening. It's everything is hard. Maybe the hardest thing about building the company, here's a hard thing. Every few months, it's different. And you have to ditch what you've learned and learn something new at just an incredible clip. Because the systems change, the number of people changes, the communication changes, the projects you're working on are changing, the goals change. And so you have to just be hyper focused on learning and growing. And it takes a lot of, you have to kind of check your ego at the door because if you think you got the answers, think again. And yeah, I've learned that lesson so many times.
Awesome. Great question. Thank you. Next up, we have Pradyun Narkatamili.
Hi, I'm Pradyun. I'm a hack club leader near San Ramon, California. So I have two really small questions for you. Number one, Arch Linux or Debian?
Wait, sorry, what is the question?
Arch Linux or Debian?
Okay, so I'm revealing the fact that I am not an engineer and I am non-technical by answering your question. So I don't know the answer to that question. So I'll just say C, neither.
Good answer. So if you learned to code, where and how did you learn to code?
I didn't learn to code. The person who built the first version of Patreon was my co-founder, Sam Yam, who built the whole thing by himself. And where did he learn to code? I think he just started learning to code when he was really young. He just fell in love with it, and then was a CS major in college. But I never learned to code, so I just had to learn how to work with people who coded.
Awesome. Next up, we have Risha Jungiani.
Hi, so I'm Risha Jungiani. I'm a 9th grader, and I'm planning on starting a hack club next year. So my question, what world issues keep you up at night? So like the most pressing issue our generation should focus on solving.
Oh, for you mean for the whole world? Like what issues keep me up at night, not just for Patreon, but you mean in general for the world? Is that the question?
Yeah.
It's such a good question. So I'll just quickly say, I'm actually an optimist in terms of the state of the world now versus 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago. I've been reading a little bit recently about how much progress we've made as a species. And when you look at the trajectory of our species, it's actually incredible. Now, this doesn't mean there's not a ton of work to do around the world and a ton of suffering that's still happening, and a ton of global issues that are plaguing all of us. And maybe the ones that are most near and dear to me, I think over the long term for us, I'm pretty worried about climate change, as a lot of us are. I feel like we need to make more progress there more quickly. I'm pretty worried about the prevalence of racism that exists in the world. It seems like we've been fighting that for so long, and so many people are working so hard, and it's having an impact, and it's having an impact too slowly. And we need to figure out how to speed that up. Those are two ones that are important to me, that I think about often.
Absolutely. And I think like for a lot of us, like optimism might be like the one thing that we really need right now, especially in the middle of a pandemic and a lot of other things, like things really seem to be like piling up. We just have to like stay positive and like focus. Next up, we have a question from Jason Antwiapa.
Hi, I'm Jason. I'm 15 and I live near Austin, Texas. And my question was, how many Chrome tabs do you usually have open at a time?
Let's see. I'm just going to count them. Oh, it's embarrassing. It's got to be like 25. That's too many to count quickly. That's a problem, right? Somebody's got to fix that.
All right. Yeah, our next question will now come from Aaron Lewis. Aaron?
Yeah, sure. All right. First of all, so like great to meet you, Jack. I like the first time like I saw you was like the Casey Neistat video where you like did like that whole thing. So it's like crazy to be on this call. But my question is sort of a more like meta, like philosophical question that I hear on like a lot of podcasts and interviews and kind of things. It's what is an important truth that you believe in that other people around you disagree with?
Wow.
Wait, sorry, real quick. Can you say where your hack club is from and your grade?
Oh yeah. I'm in grade 10. I'm 16 years old, and I'm thinking of starting a hack club next year.
Yeah, you got to be careful with these things because they're unpopular opinions. I think it actually is the same thing that I said in the last answer, which is I know there's so much wrong with the world right now. But when I look around at how people are dealing with it, I just see so much sadness and so much pessimism. I see people focusing on the suffering. And again, it's not that we shouldn't spend time trying to fix all of that. And we need to, and we should. And there's so many problems, and we need to do all of that. But I believe in humans. I believe in humanity. I believe that things are getting better. I believe in the systems that we're building. I believe in the technology that we're building. I believe that we want to help. I believe that humans are good. I believe that we are listening and we're searching for problems and we're building to solve those problems. And so I sometimes feel like I'm a fish out of water, looking, through Twitter or on Facebook, and seeing a lot of the negativity and the energy around technology and the state of the world. And it's not that I don't realize there are so many problems. I do. I believe that humans are on the right trajectory. I believe that we're doing good, and I believe that we want to do better. And I feel like that's maybe an unpopular opinion these days. I don't know. I just feel that.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you that like a lot of people seem to be getting more nihilistic as like the years go by, and optimism, especially like yours and your enthusiasm, is just really refreshing to hear. So we're gonna go back to Faham and see if his audio is working. Faham. Also, folks, we have just about 7 minutes left, so keep that in mind when we're asking questions.
Oh, is it working?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm Faham, and I'm a junior and a hack club member from Mason, Ohio. And my question to you is, what are your thoughts on the Star Wars sequel trilogy?
Okay, which one? Do you mean like episode 1, 2, 3?
Like in general.
Okay, so here's enough. Maybe this is a more unpopular opinion than the last one I just stated. I actually think I'm really glad that Disney bought Star Wars. Oh man, you guys are gonna boo me out of the room. I think they're doing a great job. I don't care. I'm just gonna say it. Like, honestly, I've been waiting for more Star Wars movies, and I've been waiting for it to get out of George Lucas's hands since episode 1, 2, 3 came out. Gosh, I just couldn't get around it. I couldn't get excited about 1, 2, 3. But then, Force Awakens and everything, since then and those new movies, yeah, you know what? They're not like all showstoppers. They're not showstoppers, but it's freaking Star Wars. It smells like Star Wars. It looks like Star Wars. There's stormtroopers. Come on, relax. It's Star Wars. Let's have some fun. And The Mandalorian was awesome. Baby Yoda, beautiful. Like, I love it. So yeah, I love the new stuff.
Jack, I think I can appreciate your proud honesty, even if your thoughts might be a little incorrect. But our next question is going to come from Banan Karada.
Hi. So my name is Banan Garada. I'm 17 years old and I'm from Illinois. And my question is, how have you maintained this, consistent level of optimism with your company, with the world? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really important to work on that, and to be active and to not just be dragged down by the gravity of pessimism. I spend time doing things that inspire me. If I find something that inspires me, I try to build a system around it. I try to build it into my routine. I try to get that shot of inspiration every day. So if there's a podcast that just gets me going, I just wake up and I listen to that podcast for 5 minutes before the day, and it just gets me going. So I found that audiobooks do that for me. Like when I listen to audiobooks on building businesses or how to break or form new habits, or the data around the evolution of the human species over the last 3,000 years and how it points us in a really positive direction. When I find things like that inspire me, I return to them, and I have a little bit of it every day. And I found that it can just keep you in a good state to do that. So yeah, I think it doesn't come naturally. It takes work like anything else in this world. And I think it's important work to do on yourself so that you can, stay with it.
Yeah, that's really genuine advice, and it's really helpful to hear. So finally, our one last question is going to come from Sam Chiet, everybody's favorite Goose developer. Sam, make sure to remember to share where you're from and your hack club.
All right, cool. Let me unmute really fast. Yeah, hi, I'm Sam Chiet. I make weird stuff online. I'm not in a hack club, but I hang around the Slack. Yeah, I have so many questions, but I guess one related to a project I'm working on. What is the weirdest, most creative use of the Patreon API you've yet seen?
Oh, of the API. Well, it's not super weird, but it is really creative. There's an app. It allows you to, it pings you when you get a new patron. And then when you tap on that patron in the app, it opens up a camera and there's a little record button, and you can just hit record and make a video of yourself talking to that new patron. It has a little bit of information about the patron too. So it kind of prompts you for who this is. And then you can say, hey, Jeremy, thanks so much for becoming a patron. Really appreciate it. We'll see you around, Patreon. And then when you let go and you hit next, it automatically sends that video to the email address that we have on file with that patron. And then the patron gets an email with a custom video from the creator welcoming them to their Patreon, which is so freaking cool and such a good idea. And I use it. I use it a lot because I welcome new patrons to Pomplamoos's Patreon.
Oh, man. That is really cute. I love that so much. Oh my God. All right.
That is really incredible. All right, well, that's all the time we have. I'm going to pass it off to Zach to conclude us in today's AMA. But Jack, thank you so much. It's really been a blast. But Zach, take it away.
Let's give Jack some snaps. I mean, oh my God. And thank you so much. That's all for this call. All
Thanks,
right.
everybody.
Thank you so much, Jack. This was awesome.
Thank you, Jack.
Great meeting you all. See you later.